Welcome to Scale Like a CEO, the podcast where we dive into the strategies and stories behind successful business scaling. Today, we have an inspiring conversation with Josh Case, the CEO and co-founder of Sober Buzz. Josh has transformed his personal journey of recovery into a thriving online community that's changing lives across the globe. With a remarkable track record of building and scaling businesses in the energy sector, Josh brings unique insights into what it takes to grow a mission-driven organization. Let's jump into the conversation.
Josh, thank you so much for joining me on Scale Like a CEO. To get us started, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a 90-second intro to you and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, Justin, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Currently, I'm a co-founder and CEO of Sober.Buzz. We're an online recovery community. My now wife, we just got married about a week and a half ago. Heidi and I started it. We both went to rehab, separate rehabs last year to get clean and sober. And we've been clean and sober since July 6th of 2024. And it really started as a hobby at first, and then it growing. And then Heidi asked if she could be involved and start making things. And we're up to about 90,000 followers and subscribers across all social platforms. We have 2 podcasts now and post daily on Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest and TikTok.
Well, that's great. Well, congratulations on the recent
Appreciate that.
wedding
Oh, thank you.
and building the business. I'm curious, what's the unique thing that you're solving through Sober.Buzz?
So we say we're real, raw, and authentic. We pretty much lay it all out there. We've told some pretty embarrassing stories about ourselves, and we're like real and honest about what got us sober and what life is like in recovery. We have Spreading the Good Buzz, which is Heidi and I, and we usually have guests on that show. And then we also have Swarm Up, which is Heidi, me, and Cassie. And I went to rehab with Cassie, and she's our director of marketing. And on that show, we talk about the daily struggles and highlights and wins and losses during recovery and how we deal with those things. The addicts many times leave a trail of destruction behind them. So once you get sober, there's a lot of cleaning up to do. And the 3 of us, to different extents, have cleaning up to do. And we talk about those type of things. How are those things going? So it's been very relatable. We have followers in over 43 countries. And yeah, it is everywhere. We like to say we cross cultures and we have no international boundaries. So
That's
we're
incredible.
bored.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're doing great work in helping people kind of navigate those new journeys. Well, you're not new to founding companies. You've founded some companies in the past. And one of the things I like to focus on in the podcast is just kind of scaling successful businesses. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about the businesses that you founded in the past, and maybe as you went from kind of founder to growing the business, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, so I left Bank of America Merrill Lynch back in 2011. Co-founded a company called Energy Capital Group. It was me and 4 investors. Developed a solar project out by the Intermountain Power Plant, a plant that powers LA, Pasadena, Glendale, Burbank, Anaheim, and Riverside, and central Utah. It's got an HVDC line that goes directly to California. And that was bought by EDF, which is a global Fortune 500 company. And then I consulted for them for a few years, and then got involved with another French company, Photosol. And that's where I built the company that we had a big exit, we'll call it. It was just me at first, and Photosol wanted to get into the U.S. market for solar development. And I ended up partnering with them on a project called the Four Corners Solar Center, which was really 3 projects at 3 different points of interconnection. And I had some other projects in Nebraska, Texas, Alabama that I contributed to the JV. We decided we wanted to build a platform, so we started hiring people. And by the end, when we sold, we had 13 employees full time, and we had several independent 1099 contractors that were basically working full time for us, but they were doing consulting. So we went from no employees to 13. When we sold to Engie, which is also a global Fortune 500 company out of France as well. I notice all my business dealings typically go back to Paris. But when we sold to them, it was one of the biggest pipeline deals for solar and battery storage in the industry in like the recent 5 years. And that deal closed in March of 2022, and then we sold three projects, the contracted projects that had power purchase agreements to DE Shaw Desiree, which is one of the largest private equity funds that own power generating facilities in America.
That's an incredible track record that you have. I'm curious,
You.
when you between these various companies, when you as you went from founder to kind of starting to build your team, how what did you learn maybe even as you like from the first company to the next, like, what did you learn about how to successfully start building a team around yourself as a founder?
Yeah, so I was doing it all myself until we founded Photosol US Renewable Energy in May of 2019. So I had to learn to let go and let others do the work and trust that it'll be done right. And I got good at knowing a lot about a lot of things, but not in like deep. So I was hiring now more specialists in like development, specialists in interconnection, specialists in biological, environmental work, which I was managing all before, but now I was in a position that I could bring on the specialists to do that. So I had to learn to keep my fingers out of things and let the people that know more than me do things. And that was, I'll be honest, that was hard at first because I did it. I didn't have the engineering degree, if you will, but I knew how interconnection worked and I know how to read a single line drawing, but now I have an expert that can make them, right? For example.
Yeah, and that's whenever I'm talking to founders about growing a company, especially in those beginning phases, it's really hard to let go and let
Yeah.
others do things. I'm curious, how did you figure out kind of the best way to let go of things?
Yeah, I mean, it got to the point where I'm traveling all the time, right? I'm going to Paris 6 weeks or so. I'm traveling around the country signing land deals, going back to New York for financing deals. So this thing has gotten big, right? It's not just me going out signing land, getting interconnection, and then bringing in a development partner. We're developing the projects in-house. Hopefully, two. The goal was two COD, NTP, notice to proceed for construction. We had 22 projects, 25 if you count the cell to DE Shaw and NG together. And a good developer, is managing 3 to 6 projects by themselves, right? So it would be impossible for me to do what I do on that scale. So I had no choice but to bring and divvy up the pipeline so we could be successful. Because if I just did it, then I would start messing up. There's just too many cats to corral, if you will, with that many projects. I had no choice.
Yeah. Yeah, there definitely comes a point where you just absolutely can't do it all. I'm curious then, as you
Yeah.
added to the team and you were hiring new team members, what were some of the key qualities that you were looking for when you were bringing new people on?
Yeah, so in development, you're the face of the company with the local public. You have commission meetings, you're meeting with landowners. So you got to have somebody that's personable, somebody you're going and meeting with farmers in the Midwest, Texas ranchers. You need somebody that can relate to a lot of different types of people. You don't show up in a suit when you go talk to a rancher about their land, right? You just gotta have self-awareness, presentation skills, obviously, because you're presenting to school boards, county commissioners, PUCs, presentations to utilities, trying to get power purchase agreements. So yeah, and also people that I trust. Like I ended up hiring quite a few people I knew in the industry that I had formed relationships with, and then we used headhunters for a few of the positions that we were trying to fill that weren't able to with our own contacts.
Yeah, that's funny. It makes me think about the whole kind of you can't wear a suit out onto the ranch. There was a reverse kind of experience that I've had with someone where, so I'm in Chicago, was working for a
Yeah.
tech company at the time, And we had hired a new salesperson who was from Texas and would
Mhm.
represent that region or sell in that region.
Right.
And he showed up to our office in cowboy boots. And in Chicago, that's just not something you see very often. And we're like, what?
Right.
This guy's wearing cowboy boots. Like, what the heck? But then we had a discussion about it, and we said that's actually probably what his clientele is used to. Like, they're going to be used to seeing
Right.
people in cowboy boots. So it's all right. Dress for the environment that you're going to be operating in.
What's funny is at the office we had Cowboy Boot Wednesday. That's where we wore cowboy boots to the office, and yeah. So
I love that. I love that. I'm curious if you can think about a time when you were maybe overwhelmed by decision making and, what strategies did you implement to overcome that overwhelm that many founders get to?
yeah, so we were coming up. The deal with Engie, a financial close for the deal was coming up on a Monday, and it was a Friday night, and it looked like the deal was going sideways. So my partner Robin, he's in Paris. I'm flying home from Chicago, and I got home late, and there was a few issues with the deal that had popped up that we had to quickly get together and resolve. And unfortunately, my partner Robin and he and I didn't see eye to eye on it. So we had a little argument. Financial investment banker at BNP Paribas and one of our attorneys, we don't want to talk to each other. It's Saturday morning, right? We're ticked off at each other. But they talked to both of us and get us to agree to get on a phone call with each other. And I wanted to do the deal the way it was and not have it change because it was a new ask on our side. So it was a legitimate ask, but we were 48 hours away from closing, right? And a year earlier we had a deal fall through, like the night before. So we had to start all over. So I'm worried that we're going to have to do this again, and it's exhausting to go through due diligence and run a process with like all these major companies around the world and all these you're doing. It's during COVID, so we're doing Zoom calls like all the time. So we get on the call, and it's silent for like 2 minutes, and then Thomas BNP, he goes, "Okay, Josh, say hi to Robin. Now, Robin, you say hi to Josh." And then we started talking like it was no problem. Yeah, he ended up backing off. We just went with the deal we had, and it closed. But that was probably the most difficult decision. Was I going to hold my ground on this, or you know say, all right, let's see what they say.
Yeah. Do you think it was having kind of a, mediator that helped you overcome this kind of blockage that you had? Or what's the one thing that got you to overcome this conflict? Because anyone who's in a partnership like this is likely going to face some kind of like stalemate in, no, I want to do
Right.
it this way. What are we going to do? Like, what's the one key that got you past it?
Yeah, I think it was Thomas and Elliot getting involved, and you know we, Rob and I, we had a great relationship. We never actually had a problem like this before. This was the first time we had anything like this, and I think it was a lot to do with the stress of getting the deal done, and it was complicated. We had to get the contracted projects done with D. E. Shaw first. It was sequential, and then we would do the NG deal, and then Ruby bought Photosol France. So there was a lot of the stars aligning and just a lot of pressure, and it took some cooler heads to get us to breathe and think rationally.
Yeah.
Because I think we're just frustrated and not in the best. We just want to get the deals done. We're just stressed out, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I want to pull out of that is something that I work with teams on often is talking about conflict and conflict resolution. Like,
Mhm.
how do you de-escalate something when the two parties are just not gonna budge? And it's
Right.
best to agree to that. And I don't know if you had done this or not, had kind of agreed who's the mediator, but to agree before conflict happens. Like, hey, if we ever reach a point where we can't move forward, who's the person we go to help us get unstuck, or what is the method we will use
Right.
to get unstuck? Because if you hadn't had someone to help you get over that hump, who knows what would have happened on the other
We,
end.
we probably would have yelled at each other, but we had a great relationship. We still have a great relationship. So I think we would have got past it, but we would have beat each other up a little bit,
Yeah.
if you will,
Yeah.
if Thomas and Elliot didn't get involved.
Yeah. Well, so back to Sober.buzz. What's the future look like?
Yeah, so this has obviously turned into something that we weren't expecting at first. Now we have a podcast, and we were approached by production companies to do the podcast. It wasn't, I'd thought about doing one in the future. I didn't think we'd have this many followers in 2 or 3 years. So the next step is we've got a kind of a pitch deck, fact sheet. We're going to be starting looking for sponsors and advertisers, because this is turning into a full-time job for the three of us, and we enjoy it. We want to keep doing it. I think we're on our 19th episode between the two shows, and 1% of podcasts get past the 21st episode. So, we're doing pretty good. We're getting views, we're getting hours on YouTube. So that's the next thing, is to figure out how to monetize it, and with selling ad space and sponsorships.
Great. Great. Well, Josh, thank you again for joining me. Congratulations on the recent wedding. Congratulations on the growth of
Appreciate it.
Sober Buzz. If folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram and Facebook and X, all at SoberBuzz Token. We're on TikTok at sober.buzz. And then we're on YouTube at SoberBuzz Podcast. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Josh Case, easy to find. And then my email is jc@joshcase.com.
Great. Well, Josh, thank you so much for the time today. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate it, Justin. Thank you for having me on.